understanding how and when to use fasting. So important. Again, an insane amount of confusion surrounding fasting. And people in general love to make the topic of fasting black and white. It's either good or bad. And this gets so many of us in trouble because fasting is proven to be one of the most effective ways to lower inflammation and prevent disease, period. Powerful. The problem is that most people just don't know enough about fasting to use it to improve their health. And so the way that they're using it is compromising their health. I can't tell you how often I see this. I wish that fasting should come with a user's manual because there's so much to know about it before you could use it to your advantage. Okay, a lot of you have experienced this where you started fasting and you felt better and you lost weight and you were so glad your friend told you that intermittent fasting was the latest and greatest. And initially it worked really well and you lost weight and all the things. And then I found you, or you found me on Instagram saying, Kate, I'm doing the same thing. I'm gaining weight. My hair is falling out. I don't have any energy and I don't feel good. My friend was telling me to fast. I've stopped. Fasting is bad. Is fasting good or bad, Kate? No. Fasting is not bad. You just don't understand how to use it correctly, okay? Once we understand how to use fasting for us, everything changes, okay? The benefits of fasting. When we use fasting correctly, fasting is the fastest way to lower inflammation. Inflammation is the gateway to every single disease. Fasting also helps to detoxify the body, right? So when it comes to disease prevention, few things are more important than lowering inflammation and reducing the body's toxic burden. Unbelievably important. Fasting also plays a really critical role in promoting cellular repair, right? And this enhances metabolic health, right? Improves metabolic functioning, basically insulin sensitivity, and helps with weight loss. When we fast and we're not eating and our energy isn't going toward digestion, the body goes into massive cleanup and repair mode, right? And this is when it's getting rid of, precancerous cells and inflammatory cytokines, and it really goes into disease prevention mode. There is a long, long list of health benefits associated with fasting, like a very extensive list, and we're not going to cover all of them today. But it's just important that you know that fasting is one of the most powerful tools that we have to support our health and our healing. Okay. Fasting basics. Understanding how to use fasting is critical if you want to reap the benefits. So many of us are misusing it and overusing it. It's really important to recognize that fasting is not a skill that we master overnight, right? So if you're accustomed to snacking, frequent eating, not fasting, you need to ease your body into fasting, right? You literally have to teach your body how to fast. As we jump in too quickly, I see this all the time, this increases stress, it will backfire. Fasting is what we call a hormetic stressor, right? It's designed to be introduced in small doses initially, teaching the body how to go from burning sugar to fat and how to go from burning readily available fuel sources, right, what we're constantly eating, to stored fuel sources, right? When we fast, we introduce a stressor to the body. Really important to understand this. If we are healthy enough and we don't overdo it or create too much stress, our bodies will adapt to this stressor and will become more resilient to stress over time. So fasting is literally a skill that you have to teach your body how to do. If you have a dysfunctional metabolism, which is about 90% of the population, rigid metabolism, your body does not know how to do this. And just assuming that it does and jumping in because your neighbor told you it was so great is going to increase stress on the body and backfire. You have to learn how to work with your body and hormones. Otherwise, it's going to work against you every time. Okay, so where do we start? How do we know if fasting is helping or hurting us? The best way to know if you're overdoing fasting or fasting for too long, too often, is to make sure that your schmeck is in check, your sleep, your hunger, your mood, your energy, your cravings. If you notice any of those going out of check, you're most likely overdoing it. Okay, so now that you have those signs and sort of you know what to be aware of, you can start with creating a daily 12-hour fasting window, right? That we talked about above. It's going to benefit most of you. It's not going to slow down your metabolism or lead to metabolic rigidity. Okay, so that's what I do personally every single day is make sure I'm getting at least a daily 12. No eating in between that time. No eating after dinner. And again, this is going to help with gut health. You're going to get into mild autophagy, which is really helpful for the metabolism, okay? So after this feels good to you and your schmeck is not going out of check, like you can do this on a regular basis. You're not starving and you're not able to sleep and you're able to do a 12-hour fast daily without your schmeck going out of check. This is when you can add in more longer periods of fasting, okay? This is where a lot of people go wrong. They start pushing out their daily fast until about they start eating at maybe 10 or 11 in the morning and again, skipping breakfast. You don't want to fast longer than 12 to 13 hours daily long term, or it will eventually lead to metabolic rigidity and slowing. And a lot of you have experienced that here. So if you're thinking like, I've just been doing like a daily 16 and over time, that is almost always too much stress on the female body. And what stresses the body will compromise the metabolism and slow it down. So when it comes to a daily fast, right, something you're always doing, I would not go much longer than a 12 to 13-hour daily fast. If your schmeck is in check, then you can start to go a little bit longer, okay? Understanding that metabolism is always adjusting to everything you do. So when you decide to, okay, I'm going to go longer and I'm not hungry in the morning, so this is an ideal time to skip this meal, move it out to 10 or 11, and you start skipping breakfast chronically, and a couple months down the road, start to not feel that good, metabolism starts to adjust, slow down, go into energy conservation mode, okay? Don't do that. When you increase your fast, you want to do it just a day or two a week, ideally, okay? So you don't want to do it all the time, and you want to keep your body guessing. What is so much more effective for fat loss is moving dinner earlier rather than skipping breakfast and moving breakfast later, okay? So if you've been skipping breakfast, I highly recommend stopping doing that, eating nice, high protein breakfast, and then move dinner back a little bit. So you're getting that 3 to 4 hour window before bed. So much better for circadian rhythm, hormone health, metabolic health, and weight loss, okay? So much better. There's a lot of you who are thinking, well, I'm just not hungry in the morning, so it's a really nice time just to skip a meal. And if you're not hungry in the morning, this is a sign of a slow and rigid metabolism. One that's just like, well, we're not having breakfast in the morning, so it adjusts according. So it's time to change it up. Start your day with at least 20, 30 grams of protein. This will give the metabolism a significant boost. So much better for hormones, okay? High protein breakfast really sets the tone for the day. Keeps those blood sugars balanced throughout the day. It's going to help so much later in the day when you're tempted to overconsume. Any sugar cravers out there, like after a meal, you're just like, I just have to have something sweet. Wait until you balance your blood sugar. Wait until you get adequate protein. It's going to help this so much, okay? If you're here and you're getting a consistent slump in the afternoon, prioritizing protein, keeping blood sugar stable is going to help so much with that. Okay, if you're here with adrenal issues, dealt with chronic stress for a really long time, most women that I work with, we look at their hormones. I don't think I've met a woman in the last 10 years that wasn't somewhere in between stage 2 and stage 4 adrenal fatigue. So if you really want to know, you can test. I put that in the email if this is something that you want to know, or you can just go off your symptoms. I feel tired all the time, have an afternoon slump. Eating breakfast is going to help you so much. Like, you're going to feel a significant difference. When I finally realized this and stopped chronically skipping breakfast, I lost 7 pounds in like 2 weeks without changing anything else. My hormones were depleted. It was overly stressing my body. I had no idea. I wasn't hungry in the morning. I was exercising in a fasted state. Finally figured this out and stopped doing it. Cannot tell you how much better I feel. I also test my hormones. My hormones went from like rock bottom depleted, literally post-menopausal range, to optimal. Breakfast, protein, so important, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about the importance between cycling between what we call mTOR and autophagy, okay? To put it simply, mTOR is when our bodies are building up. They're in an anabolic state. Our cells are growing and reproducing, and autophagy is the opposite of it. This is when our cells are breaking down. They're being cleaned up. And for optimal health, we want to go back and forth between the two, and we don't want to spend too much time in just one. If we're always in autophagy, we're going to be malnourished and depleted. If we're constantly in mTOR, where cells are constantly growing and reproducing, our chance of diseases like cancer are a lot higher. We want to go back and forth between clean up and break down and then build up and repair. It's this fine dance between the two. Okay, so this is why I recommend eating adequate protein that helps with mTOR. The 12-hour daily fast, a little bit of autophagy in there, clean up, right? So every day you're getting this nice little balance between the two. And then throwing in a few 14 to 16-hour fasts a week if your schmeck is in check and you're healthy enough to do this. And then on occasion, if you're healthy enough to do this, throwing in a 24-hour fast to promote deeper autophagy. One of the most effective ways to prevent disease, okay? We don't want to spend too much time in either. The goal is to be able to cycle between the two phases of build and repair, mTOR and autophagy, really important to remember. So if you're always eating and never fasting, you're probably in mTOR a little bit too much. If you're fasting too much, you're in autophagy too much, and you're literally in a catabolic state, just breaking down. It's all about that balance. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the health benefits of different fasting windows, right? So each length of fast has a different benefit. Today we talked about, going in between 3-5 hours, somewhere there in between meals. Talked about the daily 12-hour fast, the 16 and the 24. Okay, we're gonna talk about those as well. So when we think about the daily 12-hour fast, this is going to be ideal for optimal gut health and helping start to teach your body how to become more metabolically flexible, right? This is what you can do every day without your metabolism slowing down or adjusting, just shooting for the daily 12. Next is a 16-hour fast. This fast is amazing for getting the body into autophagy, self-cleanup mode, where we're eliminating, repairing, getting rid of cancerous cells, toxins, lowering inflammation, really helpful for reversing insulin resistance, right? 16 hours without eating. It resets leptin, Leptin, which is our hunger hormone. Those of you that are always starving, really, really helpful for that, okay? Teaching the body how to burn fat for fuel, making it more metabolically flexible. This is the fast that I recommend doing at least once a week for those of you that are healthy enough and your schmeck is in check. And some women, depending on their hormones, can get away with doing 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, I find that those in menopause and post-menopause do well with these kinds of fasts, 16-hour fast, a few times a week. Again, listening to your body rather than skipping breakfast, skipping dinner. Okay. Next is the 24-hour fast. This is a fast that is often referred to as the gut reset, which we can all use. Okay, so when we don't eat for 24 hours, we get this full emptying of the digestive tract and we experience multiple cleanings, right? That migrating motor complex, sweeping, we get all of these cleanings, cleaning out debris and who knows, parasites and bacteria and fungus. And it really helps improve digestion, okay? It's going to help lower inflammation. It's going to calm down the immune system for those of you with autoimmune and help reverse insulin resistance. Okay, there's one caveat that comes with the 24-hour fast. A lot of you here are not healthy enough to do it. A lot of you. And if you're not healthy enough to do it, if you're not sleeping well and you've got good, energy and your hormones are balanced and everything feels good, do not do the 24-hour fast. You're not healthy enough to do it. What do I mean by that? You have to be healthy enough to be able to adapt to stressors. If you're already overly stressed and you add more stress, it's way too much and it's going to be a schmeck storm, okay? Everything is going to backfire. Only seasoned fasters, people that have really good metabolic flexibility, should be doing a 24-hour fast, period. I do not recommend doing more than 1 or 2 of those a month for most female bodies. It's just going to be too much stress. It's going to backfire, okay? I see most females do really well with, again, the daily 12, couple 16s, couple 14, 16, listening to the body, making sure your schmeck isn't going out of check. And then, yeah, if it's not, and you're really healthy and you're feeling good and stress is low, and then you can try for the 24, okay? Anything that stresses your body will slow your metabolism, so more is not better. In order for the fast to be beneficial, you need to be in a parasympathetic state. So many of you here today are stuck in chronic fight or flight, and you're fasting and you're carb cycling and you're exercising and you're a mama 4 and you're balancing your work with your... If you're in fight or flight and you're fasting and you're forcing your body to burn fat for fuel when your body thinks it's running from a tiger and needs quick fuel, which is carbs, you are really overly stressing your body. Okay? This is not going to help your metabolic rate at all. This was me for a long time until I started listening to my body. Didn't fast when I was stressed. Now, if you're here just thinking weight loss again is about calories in versus calories out, I can't tell you how grossly oversimplified that is. Because it wouldn't make sense why when I stopped fasting and started eating more and more protein and having breakfast now, that I lost weight. If it was all about calories, I would gain weight. I was adding a whole nother meal into my day, okay? Why did I lose weight? Because stress compromises metabolic health. When cortisol is high, the body's job is to survive. It goes into conservation mode, storing fat. When stress is low and we're in a parasympathetic state, it wants to burn fat for fuel. This is where so many fasting gurus, a lot of you have asked me about the work of Dr. Mindy Pelz. I'm very familiar. I've read all of her books. I've consulted with her. I've worked with her. I know her well. She's wonderful. But this is where some of these fasting experts, in my opinion, go wrong. Their recommendations are often based off of a perfect world. Women with balanced hormones, women that aren't chronically stressed. So they're saying, do this fast. It's really great for this. Helps prevent disease. It lowers inflammation. It's the best. Do it. Anything that stresses your body is going to backfire and work against you. For those of you who are here that obsessed with fasting and meal skipping because you're just so wanting to lose weight and shrink your body, please keep your health your main focus instead of being just how skinny you can be, because you will compromise your health every single time. Again, it's so important to partner with your body and make sure that your health is your number one priority. So important. I cannot overemphasize that. Okay, fasting in the female cycle. As your hormones change throughout the month, lots of fluctuations, right? There's times when our bodies are more able to adapt to stress, to the stress of fasting. 12-hour fast, fine to do daily. Most of you will do fine with that. Okay, in weeks 1 and 3, right? First week, when you're bleeding, and week 3, I would not do longer than a 14-hour fast. If you want to support your health and hormones, I would not fast longer than 14 hours in week 1 and 3 ever. And weeks 2 and 4, most do okay with 1, 2, 3, 14 to 16-hour fasts. Skipping dinner rather than breakfast. And then if you're good with that and your SMEC stays in check and you're good, it's not overly stressing your body, then you can throw in that monthly 24, see how you do. It's amazing, right? It's the gut reset. It's amazing. In week 2, that is when hormones are least sensitive to stress. For those in menopause and post-menopause, the daily 12, fine. 1 to 3, 14 to 16-hour fasts a week, great. 1 24-hour fast a month, again, just not paying attention to the weeks and days in your cycle, but your SMEC. Is your SMEC staying in check? That's what you need to pay attention to. Okay, when should we be avoiding fasting altogether? I cannot overemphasize the fact that fasting is a stressor that can very easily tip the body's balance and do more harm than good. So here's a list of when we should just be avoiding fasting altogether. If you have adrenal fatigue, if you've been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, maybe you're exhausted all the time and you need to take an adrenal stress index test to see what your cortisol rhythms look like. If you're tired all the time, your cortisol looks like this throughout the day rather than getting this nice spike in the morning when you have energy and you wake up and you feel energized, and then just this gradual decline lower at night so you can get into deep sleep. So someone with stage 3-4 adrenal burnout looks like this. Cortisol is just flatlined. If you've been diagnosed with adrenal issues, you should not be fasting at all, no longer than the daily 12 until you've restored the function of your adrenals. Otherwise, it's working against you, digging a further adrenal hole, okay? If you have severe nervous system dysregulation, constant anxiety, body is stuck in fight or flight, please do not fast and force your body to burn sugar for fuel, fat for fuel, when it thinks it's running from a tiger. When your body is running from a tiger, it needs quick fuel source, right? Carbs and sugar. Yet here we are we're fasting and the body's trying to get a quick fuel source by burning fat. Please don't do that. It's really overly stressing your body. Please don't fast if you're pregnant or nursing. You're going through a period of like trauma or really high stress. Don't add more stress to your plate. If you are here and you have body image issues and distortion and maybe a history with eating disorders, please don't use fasting until you have healed that. Because again, if your motivation to fast is to shrink your body because you need to do that to be happy, you're going to do things that compromise your health, and we don't want to do that. When our motivation is coming from a place of fear, it's never going to improve our health. Things that we do are not going to improve our health. Okay. I know there's a lot of you here that just want to lose weight and you're struggling with your body and you don't feel comfortable in your skin, and I totally get it. And I also know that if you use fasting and some of these tools to manipulate your weight, it will backfire. There's a lot of you here that have been abusing your body in this way, restricting calories, whatever it is, for a really long time. And what you need to do is work on healing, not doing the same thing that destroyed your metabolism. So if this is you, I really encourage you to kind of step back and just take a look at your motivation before using a tool like fasting, because again, if you're using it in this way, it's not healthy and it's compromising your physical health and your mental and emotional health. If you've been, over exercising and abusing fasting for a long time, I think it's really important that you take a step back and learn how to treat your body with respect before you start using fasting as a tool, because right now it's making you less healthy. And that's really, really important to take note of, okay? So how to know when to fast and when not to fast flowchart. Again, Allie, who I work with, made an amazing chart, just really breaking this down, simplifying these concepts, who should fast, who should not fast, when to fast, different times of the cycle. You'll be able to kind of cruise through the flow chart and understand if fasting at this time is good for you. Thank you so much, Allie, for doing that. I'm still amazed that she was able to take all of these concepts and information and make a flow chart. Again, that will be emailed to you after the workshop, okay? So to summarize the fasting section, fasting, one of the most powerful healing tools we have, but when used incorrectly for the wrong reasons, which we just talked about, can do a lot more harm than good. So now that you have sort of this understanding of the different types of fast, how to use them to benefit you, who should be avoiding them, you should be able to incorporate them in a way that doesn't compromise your health, okay? The most important thing to remember is that when you do, whatever it is you're doing with fasting, skipping meals, same meals, when you do that consistently, your body will learn and it will adjust. So again, if you want your fasting to continue to work for you, you want to avoid this plateau, keep changing up when and how long you fast. You want to keep the metabolism flexible and guessing, not catching on to what we're doing all the time. This is critical. Yes, you can do the daily 12-hour without getting this plateau. Okay? I want to say one more time, if you struggle with body image stuff, you're just trying to shrink your body, please recognize this as an unhealthy behavior and just work to address the root of that before you use a tool like fasting. Because oftentimes this leads to unhealthy and self-destructive behaviors, okay? Okay, how many of you want to hear, we're going to take a little break here in a bit. We're 2 hours into it. How many of you want to hear sort of what I'm eating, how I incorporate fasting, kind of what that looks like? I'll share that, and then we're going to take a break and come back. Hopefully you guys are all still awake, taking notes, having your life changed. Okay, so what does a typical day for me look like? I start the morning with my muddy matcha. I shared this recipe into the members area. You don't have to have my muddy matcha, but getting adequate protein in the morning is really important. So within 30 to 45 minutes of waking, I have this muddy matcha, which has about 15, 20 grams of protein in it. I also add some healthy fats in there. This helps to balance my blood sugar and fuel my workout if I'm working out that day, or just my mornings, whatever I'm doing, okay? So on the days that I work out, I'll work out after 30, 45 minutes of having that. And then after my workout, I'll usually have a loaded smoothie bowl. Another 20, 30 grams of protein there, okay? So now I'm 40 grams of protein in, right? And it's not even lunchtime. That's how we hit our protein numbers. I can't tell you how much this has improved my hormones significantly, okay? And what improves hormone health also makes it a lot easier to stay lean and have a metabolism that works, okay? So then after breakfast, I usually wait 3 to 4 hours, depending on the day, and then I have lunch. Most of my lunches are pretty balanced macro-wise. Like I'm not doing like low carb or anything like that. They're pretty balanced, right? Lots of vegetables, protein, some starch in there, just a balanced meal. And then I wait another 3 to 5 hours, getting that cleaning, sweeping of the GI. And then dinner, same thing, but prioritizing, more carbohydrates at dinner to support circadian rhythm. So, rather than having like breakfast is, high fat, high protein, this is more protein carb. So 1 to 2 servings of healthy carbs, making sure I'm eating my veggies first, then my protein, then my carbs. Again, those carbs at night help to lower cortisol. This helps so much with sleep. If you haven't been eating in this way and you're struggling with sleep, you're going to be amazed by this. I notice when I don't have these carbs at night, I rarely ever sleep as well. So I'm really careful to get those carbs in at night. Helps so much with deep sleep. I try not to eat within 3 hours of bedtime. Sometimes the husband talks me into a late night popcorn snack. I'm all about it. Again, please don't create a lifestyle that is like, I can't do that. That's not optimal. That stress is going to negatively impact your metabolism so much more than enjoying that little snack with your husband. Okay, we don't need to be so rigid and perfect all the time. Does that make me gain weight and all of a sudden my gut health goes crazy? No, because it's not what I do most of the time. Your body responds to what you're doing most of the time. So it's okay to do that on occasion, okay? I get the daily 12-hour fast in. I really try not to, violate that. My digestion, my hormones, inflammation, everything feels so much better when I get that daily 12-hour in. So if I have that late night snack and I'm eating at, 8 o'clock at night, I might push out that morning matcha until 7:30 or 8, trying to get that daily 12 in. Okay. If my schmeck is in check, and it's not always in check, sometimes I'm not sleeping well. Sometimes my energy is just low. Then I will not do more than a daily 12-hour fast. I don't want to overly stress my body, and I know it will backfire. So if my schmeck is in check and I'm sleeping well and stress is managed, then I'll throw in a couple 14 to 16-hour fasts. Again, moving dinner earlier rather than skipping breakfast. So much better for circadian rhythm. Okay. With as much as I currently have on my plate, I'm working on a lot of large projects, which I'll share with you guys soon. But with as much as I have on my plate currently, I will not be doing any 24-hour fast just because I know my body. I've learned its rhythms and symptoms and signs and its communication over the years. And I know that a 24-hour fast would just stress it. Would I be able to do it? Yes. Would my schmeck go out of check? Yes. Okay. So it's just understanding our bodies and what is going to work for them rather than against them. So that's kind of what it looks like for me right now.